The new TRREB market report is out. I'm recording this video on November 7th. The report came out yesterday on November 6th. It's covering the month of October of 2023, and as will be evident from the numbers that we're going to cover in just a minute, the market is changing, and it's changing rather fast. So what I thought, and my intention with this video, was to condense the 27-page lifeless report into a 5 to 7 minute video so that you don't have to spend half an hour of your time trying to go through the numbers and make sense of what's going on. Instead, you can watch this video and get the Reader's Digest version of what's happening in the marketplace. The only thing I'm asking in return, if you guys like the content, consider hitting the like button and consider subscribing to the channel as well so you don't miss any of the new releases covering the market dynamics and the market updates. One other thing to mention is that I'm going to be putting special emphasis on the two areas that were covered the most, which is Thornhill and Midtown Toronto. My name is Vlad. I'm a real estate agent with the Purple Tree Real Estate Group. And with the intro out of the way, let's dive directly into the numbers. On the very first page of the report, on the right-hand side, we have two graphs, and one of them is showing the sales activity in October of this year versus October of 2022. We see that there is a decline, not a substantial one, but a decline nonetheless of the number of units sold. And the average price is the next one, also on the right-hand side, where we see that the average price across all property types in GTA has gone up. So let's look at the specific changes in percentage terms year over year. As you see for sales, this is the area here, the numbers are mostly in the red, so to speak, even though the report itself doesn't show us the numbers in color. We see that they're mostly negative. Detached, semis, townhomes, and condos have all been declining in sales for October of 2023 compared to October of last year. And the average prices, on average, have been going up. The only exception here is condo apartments. They seem to have decreased in price somewhat. Let's look at the year-over-year summary. Sales, 4,600 versus 4,900 for last year. Well, not exactly fantastic for the month of October, either for this year or last. It's pretty well at the same level as what we had in August, which is uncanny. And it's not clear how the market is going to deal with this conundrum. Normally, there is a huge spike in sales activity in the month of September and October, months of September and October, but here we're not seeing it. New listings. So for last year, for 2022, we had 10,500 roughly, and for this year we have 14,000 plus, which is a 38% increase in new listings. Also, this is not looking fantastic at all. Active listings are up by 50%, 13,000 for last year and 19,500 for 2023. This is pretty bad. Average price has gone up, which is actually quite interesting, by 3.5%, and it's almost on par with inflation, which is at this point at 3.8%. And days on market actually dropped by 3%. All right, we'll take it at face value, even though it seems that the days on market have increased. Certainly the inventory has increased, the number of active listings has gone up. So it's peculiar to see that the days on market have not gone up along with the new listings and active listings. Scooping over to the second page, this page does not give us any pretty graphs that will help us understand what the most competitive price points are, where there is the most number of transactions, but actually it's quite easy to deduce from the report by looking at the numbers themselves. So the most competitive price point is between 1 million to 1.5 million, and that seems to be the case across all property types for the month of October, and we have the exact same situation, even though the numbers are vastly different. If we look at the number of sales year over year, we see that the number of sales is the highest within this price range as well, from 1 million to 1.5 million. So this is the most competitive segment. Next page is showing us the summary of existing home transactions. And here I'm particularly interested in the months of inventory. It shows us that for all TRREB areas, the months of inventory, or the average for that number, is 2.4. And normally in the past 2 decades, that number has been fluctuating across all property types between 2 and 2.5, so nothing too unusual here. There are a couple of outliers if we look through the report. So for instance, in King, we see that the months of inventory are at 5, and in Ajax, at the other end of the spectrum, the months of inventory are at 1.4. So going back to King for a second, what this number 5 means is that out of 5 homes that are listed for sale, only 1 will sell over a period of 30 days. Let's take a look at Markham, and we see that in Markham, the months of inventory are at 1.8, so roughly out of 2 homes listed, 1 will sell every 30 days. Not too bad. All property types. So condos, townhomes, semis, and detached. Next page will give us visibility into what's happening in Toronto. The average here is at 2.4 as well. And the areas that I promised to put some more emphasis on are Midtown Toronto neighborhoods that we service. C10 is at 2.5. C12, there's a huge jump to 6.2. These neighborhoods are actually right next to one another, C10 and C12, and yet the price points in C12 are substantially higher. There are more detached homes, and they seem to be taking longer to sell based on the price point. So average price, as you see in C12, is at $4,740,000, whereas in C10, it's at $1,069,000. Quite a substantial difference, and I bet that accounts for the disparity in the numbers for the months of inventory. All right, so we're moving along. We're on page number 7, summary of existing home transactions for all TRREB areas. And looking at Markham, the average price of a home in Markham is at $1,720,000. The median price is at $1,006,000. And what's also interesting is that the average sale price per listing price ratio is at 101%, which means that homes are selling slightly above the list price. And yes, there are still circumstances where homes are selling through multiple offers. On the next page, we're getting the exact same information, but for the city of Toronto. And we're interested in C10 and C12 specifically. So the average price of a home in C10 is at $1,935,000. The median price is at $1,945,000. And what's interesting is that the average sale price per list price ratio here is at 101%, which means that homes are selling slightly above the list price. For C12, the situation is different. For starters, the average price of a home here is at $5.7 million. The median price is at 3.9, and the average sale price per list price ratio is at 93%, which means that the sellers, for the most part, are taking a slight haircut on the list price in this neighborhood. And of course, a big reason for that is that we're selling substantially more expensive properties in C12 than we are in C10. We've jumped over a few pages and we've landed on page 27, where we can see the index and benchmark prices for October of 2023. Let's look at the region of Markham. For single-family detached, we see that the prices have gone up by 4.4%, so 4.5% roughly. For single-family attached, it's 5.8%, so there's appreciation in Markham. For townhomes, prices jumped by almost 16%, which is quite substantial. And for apartments, we have a very moderate appreciation of just under 3%. That's what's happening in Markham. Let's look at the city of Toronto. Again, C10 and C12. For C10, for single-family detached, we see that the price appreciated by 4.6%, almost 4.7%. For attached, 8.2%. Townhomes are suffering here, minus 6% or almost 6%. And condos are barely moving the needle. We're at 1.2% for the condo appreciation for C10. Let's look at C12. Detached are tittering at 0, so minus 0.6%. Attached, whoa, there's a jump of 11%. Townhomes, 0.44, so almost 0. And condos have taken a hit of 7.5% approximately. We're in the last page of the report, page 27, and here finally we see the entirety of the TRREB areas in the color map on the right-hand side. You see the TRREB areas quite extensive and cover the areas which is probably 6 to 7 times the area of Toronto. And looking at the historical annual statistics, which don't bring us to the current year of 2023, but they cover the period between 2010 and 2021. It's just a subtle reminder to all of us that it still makes sense to invest in property in the GTA. If you were to buy a home in 2010 for an average price of $431,000, today or in 2021, you would have ended up with a home that was worth approximately $1.1 million. All right, so as you see, the market is quite volatile. There is a lot of noise. So some property types are going up, some property types are going down by slight margins, but there aren't any substantial price movements. One of the good things that had happened in October is that the interest rates have remained the same. It's good for the market and it's good for the sellers. We have another interest rate announcement in the first week of December, so we'll see where the rates are going to go in December. And in the meantime, there are a couple of worrying trends that have been happening since August. For one, the levels of inventory have been steadily growing. And the second issue is that the sales activity has not really picked up since August. It kind of flatlined, which is extremely unusual. And this is a conundrum I'm not sure how the market or us as consumers are going to deal with. And we are anxiously awaiting that announcement in December to see whether that's going to give us an indication of where the market is going to go. Although right now it seems that the market is trending down a bit. And this is especially true for condos and especially true for some pockets of condos in Toronto, CO1 being a prime example where the number of months of inventory has gone up from 6 to somewhere between 8 and 9, which means that out of 8 condo units that are listed for sale, only 1 will sell over a period of 30 days. And the question then becomes, how do you position your unit to make it the obvious choice for the buyer so it is the one that sells? So if you're not sure how to position your property correctly in today's tough marketplace, I suggest you to schedule a quick 15-minute consultation call with us. We're going to include a link to our calendar in the description below, and the process is very simple. You click on the link, you will have visibility into our calendar, and you select the time that works for you and that works for us. We'll schedule a consultation call where we're going to give you sound advice based on your price point, your location, and your time frame. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the content, so hit the like button if you did. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next month.